Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Shocking testimony at the public inquiry into foreign interference into Canadian elections. The freedom protest, the Axe the Tax protests continue on some highway locations in Canada, and we're not properly streaming on one of our main channels again. So I'm going to take a break here for just a moment and fix this for everyone. I don't know why it's not why it didn't catch, but I will be right back. Stay with me. I'll run this in the meantime. Just you know what? I'm going to throw the slide up and the music, and we'll start all over again in about 60 seconds. Stay with me.
Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
And I'm back, and we are now streaming on all of the chosen platforms. Great to have everybody back here tonight. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Maverick family. Lots to talk about. The Freedom Axe the Tax protests in a few locations are ongoing this evening. We'll update you on that. And shocking testimony today at the inquiry into foreign interference into Canada's election process. We'll update you on that. And DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, new law in Texas, having serious impact on that. We'll tell you what's happening at the University of Texas. When we come back, we'll dig into all of it. But first, this.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So let's start with this foreign interference stuff. Committee inquiry looking into foreign interference in Canada's electoral process. Shocking testimony today. Probably for me anyway, the most shocking testimony came from MP Michael Chong. He is from Ontario, I believe. He says he was specifically targeted by the People's Republic of China. All kinds of evidence to support that claim. Analysis, intelligence documentation, CSIS notifications, all kinds of evidence. I mean, he knows the name of the diplomat who serves just down the street from him in Ottawa, who he says was identified by intelligence as being the person really behind the targeting of him specifically for political purposes. Also, some shocking stuff from the former leader of the Conservative Party of Canada today as well. Some other testimony as well showed that the Conservative Party in the last federal election may have lost anywhere from 6 to 9 seats as a result of direct foreign manipulation, influence, meddling in Canada's election. As many as 6 to 9 seats. That's really significant. And how did they do that? With information warfare, and with direct, indirect, and indirect funding, I guess, of candidates. So this is all coming out in testimony. A lot of this stuff never really revealed to the public. In some cases, in most cases, CSIS, intelligence services, not sharing the information in any meaningful way with the people even being targeted by the PRC or other foreign actors, because the intelligence itself is sometimes difficult to prove, and it often doesn't rise to the level of to a level where action can be taken, where legal action can be taken. And why is that? It isn't because things are being done that are unethical or improper. It's because some of these people involved in these activities have diplomatic immunity. So there are other considerations as well. It may go even deeper than that. And the documents revealed today in this inquiry, heavily redacted, the ones that they were putting on display for the public. Huge issue for Canada. Absolute direct evidence of foreign meddling in our political process. I'm going to take you to some of this testimony now of Michael Chong being cross-examined here by the AG. And, I mean, it really, I don't know what else to say.
Apparently
it's just flabbergasted.
In the next stage of the inquiry about, or more about a briefing that you had, a classified briefing in or about June of 2023, May, June of 2023.
I did not have a classified briefing.
You never had a classified briefing?
No, in May of 2023,
Yeah.
Director David Vigneault declassified under threat reduction measures a paragraph of the intelligence assessment of July of 2021.
You had, let me put it another way. You had a briefing in which you had received some information that was formerly classified information.
That's correct. One paragraph that was declassified.
Whereas in the previous briefings, that did not occur.
That's correct.
Right. And my understanding is you had maybe 4 or 5 of those briefings, those other briefings prior to the May or June of 2023 briefing. Is that fair?
No,
No?
that's
It
not
is
correct.
what
I had
you
one
tell me.
briefing from CSIS of general application in the summer of 2021 about foreign interference threat activities here on Canadian soil. That briefing took place in Toronto. That briefing was of general application. My understanding, I was the first member of parliament to be briefed in this way. And that briefing did not contain any information about any threats directed toward me.
I just want to be clear because we may hear more about this later, but your evidence is that you had only one briefing prior to the briefing in May or
That's
June of
correct.
2023.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And you used the word targeted. What do you mean by that? You said you were targeted. You became aware that you were targeted. What do you
Yeah.
mean by targeted?
So what I mean by that is a consular official by the name of Mr. Wei Zhou, who was accredited by the government of Canada and accorded rights that ordinary Canadian citizens do not have, diplomatic rights under the Vienna Convention, that it shield them from certain types of prosecutions that Canadians are not afforded to, was gathering information about me and my family to pass along to the Ministry of State Security, which is the ministry in Beijing responsible for Beijing's secret police, in order to potentially further target me and my extended family. That's what I mean by targeting.
I'm just wondering if I might, do you understand you're coming back for the next phase of this inquiry? Because
I do not know I've been called as a witness for the next part of the inquiry, but I understand I've been given standing for the next part of the inquiry.
there's some nodding of heads over here, so I think maybe I'll take that as a sign that we may have another opportunity to explore this when.
Sorry, excuse me, Commissioner. The nodding of heads is to agree with Mr. Chong's assessment that we have not determined witnesses for stage 2, but he does indeed have standing for the entire phase 1, phase 2, stage 1, stage 2 of the commission's proceedings.
I'm not sure how helpful that is, but thank you.
And sorry, just to clarify, the issues that are being brought up will be dealt with in stage 2 of the commission's fact-finding phase.
Again, not sure how helpful it is, but thank you for the information. Sorry, just let me check my note.
Okay, so we can come back to some of this over here, but what I want to do now is take you to a scrum with former Conservative MP Kenny Chu, who also was at the inquiry today. And again, some of this stuff just, it really reveals big cracks in Canadian security with regard to election integrity, not so much in the way that the votes are tallied and so on, but in the way that candidates are targeted potentially. Not potentially, they were targeted. And that the foreign influence that we now know is a reality.
And I was disappointed that all along, the government of Canada, through all these agencies, have access and realize what is happening covertly. And unfortunately, I've never had a chance to even talk to Mr. Johnson. When he's drafted the report, he never contacted me, even a phone call. So I don't know where he gets his conclusion and how does that come to the point. But I am as confused as many Canadians are.
Now that you've seen some of more of the documents that are coming out from this inquiry, what do you feel right now?
As I have expressed at the end of the council questioning, I feel betrayed because when I jumped into public office, I know it's difficult, it's taxing on my family, it's going to be a huge challenge for myself, and given my view on democracy and human dignity and human rights, and the fact that I'm not willing to compromise, it would be difficult vis-a-vis China policy. But I thought I would have the back by my government, and especially the Prime Minister. Soon after the election, he mentioned all these organizations, the Panel of Five, and Site Task Force, and CIRA, NCCOP, and all these. It gives me the impression that I would be protected, and that is why, even though I observe all these irregularities and interference signs, as time moves on, I become a little bit jaded or confused because the government has not admitted or taken any action until non-government agencies start looking into the matter. The McGill University data miner had come up with a report, this Info Watch, the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Lab, etc., etc., etc. One after another, they start publishing report on Stephen Richmond particularly. I started having a little bit more confidence and faith that I wasn't hallucinating, and then the whistleblower, the CSIS whistleblower, and what led to the public inquiry had now, I hope, proven to people that I was not a Donald Trump like MP Jennifer O'Connor had accused me of, that things are actually happening, and it would be smart for Canada to do something different to protect ourselves.
Mr. Chu, last week, Mr. Tody told this inquiry that he finds the Conservative Party no longer criticizes the Chinese government the way it used to. Do you think there is a link between that and what happened to you and Mr. Eric Chu?
I did not observe that as much as what Mr. Tody had. What I have observed, though, is the Conservative Party had adopted a more nuanced way of raising issues. You would notice that they start using CCP more often, Beijing more direct, and avoid referencing China, just so that our opponents would not be able to conflate Chinese China to the race, to the state. What I have not had a chance to share my thought yet is that Chinese communists are famous in falsely equating the party to the state, to the race. So soon when you start criticizing what the CCP are doing in Canada, you will start getting people asking, why are you hating Chinese? And so from my perspective, that's actually a very smart move for the Conservative to be specific and targeted in the regime that governs over China, but not China itself. I may not have run.
What about again? Would you run again?
Tell me when the next election is, and tell me by then what would have changed, and perhaps I will be more in a better position to answer you that question. I don't know when the next election is. We don't know what the government would have put in place to safeguard candidates such as myself. So that's, so I don't know.
But it would be dependent on that. That decision would be dependent on putting more.
No, not necessarily. It will be a significant decision that my family and I will have to make. Perhaps, for example, we have decided that it's still worth the risk, that even though that we are not sufficiently protected, that we will do it again. I'm just not in the position to answer that.
Just thought I understand correctly. You were asked what you had learned today at the inquiry, and my understanding was that a lot of what was said are things that you already knew, but what we've learned is that Ottawa knew them too, that this was being reported on, this is being gathered.
Yeah, that is correct. All along, the RRM, Panel of Five, Site Task Force, all these have been paying attention to, and yet, from my perspective, the government are not taking any action, not even when the Conservative Party of Canada had contacted Site Task Force, and they still have not taken action. Maybe the threshold is too high, or maybe there are other more nefarious reasons. I cannot prevent from asking myself, if I were a Liberal member of Parliament, would the situation have been different? And given, as I have testified, that the Prime Minister, the Liberal Party members have continuing using hiding behind, from my perspective, racism, anti-China, anti-Asian as excuse from answering legitimate questions. I cannot avoid to be a little bit more partisan than I should have been.
Just to clarify one thing, you mentioned when you were talking about how you felt like you were drowning and they were standing by and watching and you didn't want a warning, but you wanted someone to help. When was that warning given to you? Was that before the election?
There was no warning. There was no warning. I'm saying even if the Site Task Force has deemed the threshold it's met, all it will do, from my understanding, is triggering a notification.
So you're saying you didn't get any warning?
That would have been akin to telling somebody who's drowning, hey, you're drowning. And that's just not only that it's unfair, but it's also very dangerous. Just like Mr. O'Toole said, even one riding, even one vote is being interfered by a foreign regime. That would not be good for Canada's democracy.
At what time do you decide to join this hearing? You seem very traumatized by the whole process, right? Is that interfering you to decide?
I have been summoned. I have made the conscious choice not to join it proactively. I did not have the confidence that it will bring about the positive changes that I would like to see. And it's counterintuitive for me to expose myself further, given the situation that I am already in. So I did not apply, but the Judge Hogue had decided to summon me. I have no other choice but to appear.
And if I just, on the topic of we went into was covered a lot yesterday, and O'Toole kind of mentioned that the focus was more on whether or not the foreign interference had changed the overall outcome. But we also saw that there's a lot of this interference is happening at the nomination process level, and if those are safe ridings, it doesn't change the outcome. But do you think that there needs to be more scrutiny or oversight in how those are run, or to at least ensure that the people voting in them are at least permanent residents?
That would be a debate that Canadians, would like to engage ourselves in. I've been involved long enough when we Conservative debated whether to open up our membership base to allow non-citizen London immigrant to join the party, and because we want to welcome prospective future Canadians to get involved. And yes, it could potentially open up for foreign special interest powers to meddle with our business. But again, this is something that Canadians will have to decide where the balance is.
Yeah. So the former leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Aaron O'Toole, told the inquiry that he believes his party lost, as I said before, anywhere from, well, he says 5 to 9 seats. I said 6 to 9. It depends on who you speak with. But as many as possibly 9 seats the Conservative lost in the last election because of foreign meddling, misinformation, funding, even funding of some candidates that the People's Republic of China or other foreign actors, certainly the PRC, according to the evidence provided during the inquiry, helping candidates that they favored in this last election. O'Toole told the commission he might have continued as leader of the party after losing the 2021 federal election if it hadn't been for Beijing's misinformation efforts, as he puts it, targeting his party's campaign. He said, this is a quote, "The small number of seats would not have impacted the minority government that Canada has right now, but the difference of 2, 3, 5 seats may have allowed me more of a moral justification to remain as leader," is what he said. So Justin Trudeau today dismissed O'Toole's suggestion that foreign interference cost the Conservative Party any seats as something coming from, in his words, someone who lost an election trying to look for reasons other than themselves, brushing it off, dismissing it. And yet the testimony today, the evidence provided today shows testimony under oath, actual hard documents, intelligence information shows that there was foreign meddling, and that meddling, it appears, directly benefited the Trudeau Liberals because it hurt the Conservatives very specifically. The Commission and Council cited policy promises in the 2021 Conservative platform, which explained how it would approach China, and O'Toole was asked if those pledges might provide some sort of explanation why the Conservatives lost those seats. The CPC platform, the Conservative Party of Canada platform, at that time promised to recognize the Uyghur genocide, ban imports that are manufactured with forced and enslaved Uyghur labor, and ban Chinese mobile company Huawei from Canada's 5G infrastructure. Gee, do you think maybe there's some sort of incentive there for the PRC to get involved? Yeah, I'd say there's extreme incentive there. And yeah, documents, it's all laid out in documents as well, intelligence documents. But a lot of that information, well, very, very little of it actually shared with any of the targeted candidates or even the party leaders. So, like, and when I say party leaders, I mean not necessarily Justin Trudeau. It isn't really clear at this time how much, I would say, Trudeau knew, but we do know the government was aware that this stuff was going on, and no action, no meaningful action has been taken even now to combat this. We are, however, in the process now of learning more, and this information hopefully will be taken and put to good use so that we can deal with these issues. I just want to bring up the mandate of the commission. Let me just find it here for you so I can show you. Here it is. Here's the commission's mandate. This is what they're doing. I believe this is the 8th day now, and this is the most shocking testimony so far. Just lays it right out. The Foreign Interference Commission will examine and assess the interference by China, Russia, and other foreign states or non-state actors, including any potential impacts, in order to confirm the integrity of and any impacts on the 43rd and 44th general elections, 2019 and 2021 elections, at the national and electoral district levels. The Commission will examine and assess the flow of information to senior decision makers, including elected officials, and between the security and intelligence threats to elections task force and the critical election incident public protocol panel during the election periods that led up to the 43rd and 44th general elections and in the weeks following those periods and actions taken in response. The Commission will also examine and assess the capacity of relevant federal departments, agencies, institutional structures, and governance processes to permit the Government of Canada to detect, deter, and counter any form of foreign interference directly or indirectly targeting Canada's democratic processes. Of course, that means public hearings. Then that information will be taken, as always, put into a report presented to government with recommendations, and then hopefully action is taken. Hopefully. It's not a trial, it's an inquiry. So it's not a place, again, where you would find anyone guilty necessarily of anything, but evidence coming out could lead to other legal actions down the road. Now, there was another member of Parliament today, Han Dong, Toronto MP, also affected by this, and bring up a clip of him here now, as this inquiry today, this session just wrapping up. Han Dong.
Sir, do you accept that the People's Republic of China is attempting to interfere in Canadian democracy?
I've seen reports about that. I personally haven't seen any evidence of it.
But this inquiry has heard evidence that CSIS believes Chinese state actors helped Han Dong win the 2019 Liberal nomination. The allegations center on a group of...
Indeed. Here, we'll just bring it back here.
Of international students from China that... But this inquiry has heard evidence that CSIS believes Chinese state actors helped Han Dong win the 2019 Liberal nomination. The allegations center on a group of international students from China that were bused to the nomination meeting and told how to vote. On the stand, Dong was asked what he knew about that.
I didn't see them.
How many students were involved?
I don't remember. It's very vague.
Or who commissioned the bus?
I don't remember.
And yet, Dong informed the inquiry just yesterday that his wife paid for 2 buses, something he did not tell the inquiry when its lawyers interviewed him 6 weeks ago.
Oh, it goes on, and there's more CSIS evidence surrounding all of this. And the reason I ran some of that global report is because some media outlets, we heard in testimony today, were actively suppressing information. Shocker! In particular, there are some Chinese radio stations out, and one in particular, I had it here for you. I'm going to pull this up. I believe it's AM 1320 in Vancouver, and we heard there was testimony today specifically making reference to this radio station. And again, it was from Michael Chong who made reference to this, and he says that the information is this radio station told its news staff not to talk about specific information, some specific aspects of this, or to interview specific key players in this saga. And there is evidence as well to suggest that at least one person, maybe one person, was fired and more may have been reprimanded if that evidence given today holds true. And that is what was testified to. And here's the website for that radio station. Obviously, Chinese. Here's what they sound like live.
老師，咁你頭先所講關於嗰個地震啊，咁你又睇下，你又講下關於嗰個我而家必須省呢個省選啊，會有冇變數咧咁啊？
So obviously you're talking about a talk radio station, Chinese community, Vancouver. This is what Canada is facing right now. Now, all of the leaders after the last election, even when this information became more public, they all agreed that the actual outcome of the election would not have changed even because of the foreign meddling. However, what we heard today, what I listened to, suggests that the impact from this is pretty serious. It's severe. And this is only what we know about. And this is all, everything we heard today is focused on the People's Republic of China. We're not even getting into anything that may have come from other governments, other countries. We'll likely hear about some of that stuff in the days ahead, because this inquiry is not over yet, and we will continue to follow it right here on the Maverick News Channel.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
One moment, just queuing up something else for you that might be of real interest, so stay with me. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so the Freedom Axe the Tax protests still some protests going on a sort of a, I've got some other audio playing in my head. There's some new stuff coming in here. Just a moment. Yeah, so there are still some protests going on highways today. Axe the Tax Freedom protests, sort of the one that's, I think, getting the most attention is that one out on the Trans-Canada Highway at Highway 22. And we have a little bit of footage here for you to show you kind of what it looks like out there today. Let's bring this up for you. Okay, here we go. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay, this was earlier today. This is what it looks like.
Where'd you come from? You were at Hope, BC, were you? Yes. So we got, look, oh, there's another Hope, BCer. Who's this?
So this is in Alberta.
Hello, Joe, we gotta go, me oh my oh. There you go. You can just randomly meet anybody here, eh?
Oh, it's so awesome.
Right? So, yeah, so we got people from Hope, BC that came in. We got people from Welsh that came in. People from Saskatchewan, people from Ontario. They're all here. Oh, hey, you're going away, Ken. But, as you can see,
Okay, so that's what it looked like today. And I don't know what we're going to be hearing here, but we have access to this right now. Hang on, I need to make sure that whatever I'm going to feed you is genuine and not something fake. I'm listening to something right now. I'm not really sure if I should show you this or not. I'm listening. Bear with me. Okay, let me run this little promo here. I'm going to make an assessment on this, and then when we come back, I'll decide if it's something that's appropriate for us to run or not. I'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah, I'm not going to run this. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I should. And there's an old rule of thumb: if in doubt, leave it out. So for now, I'm going to say no. I can tell you that the protest in Alberta continues. There was this sort of standoff thing that happened with police most of the day yesterday, with the police standing in the ditch. And still got this thing playing in my head. Okay. Okay. Sorry, this is very distracting while I'm trying to decide if I should run it. But no, I'm not going to run it. For about 6 or 7 different reasons. So until I resolve that, I'm just going to stay out of it. But yeah, the cops in the ditch yesterday, forming a line, preventing the protesters from getting onto the highway. Today, same location. The cops left yesterday near later in the afternoon. They decided to just basically pack up and leave. They did not ask the protesters to vacate. They remained parked and still are parked on a service road adjacent to the Trans-Canada Highway at Highway 22 in Alberta, right next to the Petro-Canada truck stop there. Traffic continues to flow freely up and down the Trans-Canada. Police do have liaison officers on site today. As you can see, they do have some support there. There's also some activity in Cape Breton. There's some activity in Saskatchewan. There's I believe a little bit going on out in BC, and a little bit some additional stuff, very small but active out in the Maritimes as well. Do they have the numbers to achieve exactly what it is they want to do? I don't know. I know that they want more numbers, but the overall support from the public is not materializing in the way I think that the people behind this initiative had hoped. And we did bring you, pretty extensive coverage of this all yesterday. It continues now, and they are expected to continue to camp out overnight at these various locations. So that's kind of where it's at. I wouldn't say there's a whole lot new in terms of development there, but if we see anything significant, we will go live during this broadcast, and if necessary, I'll go live in the middle of the night or at any time, night or day, to keep you guys informed and up to date when something actually significant does happen. So with that, let's move on to other news of the day. Donald Trump fighting back against all this lawfare, and he has now successfully been able to post $175 million bond, as I understand it. And again, let me just find the right notes here. Before we get into that, I've got this in front of me, so I'm gonna proceed with this story. Texas University, DEI, the University of Texas at Austin, has laid off dozens of employees. They were working in the university's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and this is all being done to comply with a new state law in Texas. University of Texas at Austin President Jay Hartzell has announced that the school's division of campus and community engagement is being dissolved and its programs and funding transferred to other divisions. So this announcement comes as the university works to comply with this new Texas law that came into effect January 1st. It effectively dissolved DEI institutions at public colleges and universities throughout the state. That's very significant. This is major pushback against political correctness, wokeism, progressive politics. The law mandates that all governing boards of public colleges and universities ensure that their institutions prohibit the establishment and maintenance of a DEI office and the issue of DEI statements. In addition to that, hiring practices and training are no longer allowed to use DEI statements. So this is a significant development, a major shift at the university, and it is academia, universities, places of higher education, and even all the way down to kindergarten, honestly, these days, that where this progressive woke left agenda has taken real hold, has grown roots, and has sprouted. And so this is a direct attack on that proliferation of wokeism. Straight on, head on attack. Major development. So, also, tonight, sorry, my tabs are all messed up here, but I'm working on it. I want to get my notes on that. Trump. There's so many court cases with Trump too. And so many different aspects to it. There's this gag order, which he's trying to work around. There's the hush money trial, the election integrity stuff. Too many things here. Let me just run this. I'm going to come right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so Trump, former President Trump, and his co-defendants in his New York civil fraud case have now posted a bond of $175 million. So this posting brings to an end this 6-week ordeal where we saw Trump scrambling to fight off the possible seizure of some of his properties or assets stemming from that $464 million judgment. The judge who came up with that massive judgment against Trump found that he had gained hundreds of millions through a years-long fraud scheme targeting banks and insurers. That's the way the court described the situation. Trump has been required to come up with this money to post bond to avoid enforcement of the judgment pending his appeal of this case. An attorney for Trump, Alina Habba, says Trump's payment was made as promised. She says he looks forward to vindicating his rights on appeal and overturning this unjust verdict. The bond was lowered by an appellate court from the $464 million figure to the $175 million figure back on the 25th of March. This came hours after Trump missed a grace period deadline extended by New York Attorney General Letitia James, whose office brought this case. Of course, Trump's legal woe is far from over. A spokesperson for Letitia James declined to comment today on this latest development. I think Trump's opponents were just hoping, praying, just eager to see him trip and fall and not come up with the cash. But there it is. He made the payment. So a lot of people. I hear I can hear the liberal tears are dropping now. The crying, the wailing. Oh, it's piercing my eardrums. I can hear it. The world's oldest man has died. He was 114 years old. Juan Vicente Perez Mora, the world's oldest man. From Venezuela. That's where he lived. Here's a picture of him in a wheelchair. If I was 114 years old, I probably wouldn't want to. I don't know. That's, wow. 114. Born May 27th, 1909. He would have been 115 years old by the end of next month. Pretty incredible. There he is there, too. Close up of him. 114 years old. So, we've got all that going on. I think what I'm going to do, actually, is... I don't know if you guys are interested in going to the phones tonight or not. I'm just going to check the chat here. It's been kind of a strange day around here. I was on the road for a lot of the day. Came back, tried to get caught up on a lot of this stuff. You let me know in the chat. Anybody interested in doing the telephone thing? I can crank that up if you guys are so inclined. I'll just check the chat and see what you're saying. Yeah, gold is climbing, says Robert. People looking at the financial picture here. You know what else is going off the charts? Bitcoin. Have you checked the price of Bitcoin? It's down a little bit today, but it has been on the rise, and it has been hitting new records, I believe. Certainly compared to a year ago, I think it's up to, in Canadian dollars, around 89,000 today. And where is it? Why is it not showing up on the screen?
The only...
Oh, that's why. Let me try again. There we go. That'll show you the price of Bitcoin, I think. No? There it is, Bitcoin. Today's price, $89,322.12 Canadian. And that's over the course of the year. So a year ago today, it was at $37,000. $37,067.17. Today, $89,072.08. Well, that's a pretty significant jump. Let's take a look at the climb over 5 years. It is volatile. 5 years ago, it was at $6,687. Today, 89,000. It did dip down back in 2022 to like 22,000. And I can tell you that this week, one of the days this week, we should have an interview with an expert on Bitcoin for you that I've lined up. So looking forward to that. Bring that down. I'm just going to go over here, check the Rumble chat tonight. Oh, yeah, Bitcoin is down just a little bit. Johnny says Bitcoin is fake. A lot of people look at it that way. So, I don't know. I'm just looking in here. Hello, Tarface. How are you tonight? Yes, Raising Wolves. Taiwan did have a massive earthquake. People are missing, many killed. Yes. And we can update that for you. Yeah. It's pretty incredible sights to see there. A lot of damage. Massive earthquake, killed 9, injured hundreds. People combing through the rubble. Scores of people missing. Experts say a bunch of aftershocks could make the search and rescue even more dangerous. Taiwan's National Fire Agency saying that at least 946 people were injured. The earthquake measured 7.2 magnitude on the Richter scale, Taiwan officials, and 7.4 by the U.S. Geological Survey. Struck near the east coast city of Hualien at about 8 a.m. local time. It's a popular tourist destination located about 100 miles south of Taipei, where buildings swayed, rocked back and forth. Some damage was reported. I also saw footage sent to me of people on a bridge. The whole bridge was shifting left and right and left and right. Very scary. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. We have some photos here that I think we can share with you of the damage. Here we go. So this was a handout from Taiwan's military news agency. This photo, you can see the responders climbing into the building, which is collapsed and is sitting crooked sideways. Look at the whole building is lopsided. How does that even stay up? It looks like the whole thing is about to just flop over on its side. More damage there. That's at a high school. And you can see that whole building is sagging. You see how the windows are all leaning forward. Emergency crews searching. Look at that. Amazing stuff. Amazing. Sandy says, I don't like earthquakes. Too scary. Gina says she saw it this morning. Heard of 39 aftershocks. Yeah. Jesse says, but the building, those 2 floors collapsed and the rest still stayed standing. Yes. And Robert's looking for a price on XRP. Steve, XRP and QFS certainly a factor. I don't know. Missing most of the conversation to give that any context, but yeah. And Gina says she's so sick of all the BS. Whatever that BS is, I don't know. I haven't been following the chat enough to know exactly what Gina's talking about. But whatever it is, she's tired of it. I get it. And Juicy talking about the Knights of Malta, of course. And Steve Harvey says gold is up 23.03 an ounce. Yeah. Bitcoin, quite the thing. Amazing, amazing roller coaster ride with that cryptocurrency. Whole new reality for the financial markets, right? Don't know where that's going to go in the long run, but it's an exciting time to be alive, isn't it? I'll be right back. Stick with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
So, the other day we saw accusations that Israel had killed at least 2 military leaders, I think generals from Iran, during a strike at the Iranian embassy, I believe, in Syria. That marking yet another escalation in the war in the Middle East. And I'm saying the war in the Middle East tonight because it's fairly clear that the whole conflict is spreading beyond Gaza. We have the situation in the Red Sea, the Houthis launching attacks against Western ships going through that area. I think for the most part, ship traffic involving Western ships has been curtailed. The U.S. and allied countries trying to secure that shipping route with limited success. The risks are just too high for a lot of these shipping companies, so they're going around. You're seeing it spill over to other countries like Lebanon, And now I'm seeing reports online as well. There are some people who are very concerned that Iran may actually launch some sort of attack against Israel within the next, say, 48 hours. Those are the reports that are out there. However, I should caution you that even though I'm sitting here telling you this, and I'm seeing things about this online, there's no proof that this is actually going to happen. This obviously has to be speculation because we just never know for sure what's going to happen in the future. That being said, saber rattling going on, and I'm just letting you know, it does seem to be at least a credible possibility. So I share that with you tonight. Now, now Trudeau, I told you it was talking about the election integrity and the commission that is looking into foreign meddling in our elections. And today he just basically brushed this off, and I have the clip now of him. I believe this is it. Just sort of dismissing it. I think he's just saying he's ready to move on. And he's just calling the Conservatives a bunch of crybabies, basically. I'm paraphrasing. As though this is nothing to see here, folks, but I think maybe there is. This is him announcing another $15 billion for apartment construction loans. But then during the media scrum following, we got this.
You didn't really answer the question in that, does this information change your opinion of Mr. Dong's fitness for caucus? And also...
l'issue de ces élections.
Let me just pick up the English portion right here.
La commission d'enquête sur l'ingérence étrangère est en train de constitution the ongoing foreign
to the Liberal Party. When did you, Mike, quote,
sorry, here we go.
Continue to work together to deliver more housing.
Mr. Dong told Chinese officials that even if the two Michaels were released right away, opposition parties would view the PRC's action as evidence a hardline strategy against China works. The document also said Mr. Dong provided advice on what might, quote, help to placate public opinion and provide valuable talking points to the Liberal Party. When did you learn of CSIS's account of these conversations, and does this information change your opinion of Mr. Dong's fitness for caucus?
Foreign interference is a real challenge everywhere around the world. We know that certain countries and actors are engaged in trying to disrupt, in attempts to disrupt our institutions, our businesses, our economy, and our electoral processes. That's why in 2015, we started to work on protecting our country more from foreign interference. We created oversight bodies that watch both our elections process, that oversee all the work our national security agencies do, and we've continued to give them more and more tools. The ongoing Foreign Interference Commission is an important way of highlighting some of the challenges we face and some of the solutions that we've put forward to keep our democracy safe. And I want to reinforce to everyone that our expert, nonpartisan panel looking at the 2019 and 2021 elections confirmed that those elections happened in a way where the integrity held, where the outcome was decided by Canadians. Obviously, this commission is ongoing, and I look forward to being part of it. I will be testifying before the commission next week. This is an important way of answering these questions, of engaging with this in the right forum. Okay. L'ingérence étrangère.
Okay, hang on. We'll get back to the English. Here we go. And here we go.
We know there have been ongoing attempts over the past many elections to interfere with processes in our elections. That's why when we took office, we put in place new protocols and procedures to protect the integrity of our elections in 2019, 2021 specifically, and that allow us to say with certainty that the outcome of those elections were decided by Canadians, not by anybody else. And that should reassure people, but always there's more to do, which is why this public inquiry into foreign interference is going to look at all the measures and processes that are in place, all the processes that we've put in place, and make recommendations about what more we can all do working together to ensure that our elections and our democratic institutions remain robust and protected from foreign interference.
L'ancien chef conservateur affirme que 5 à 9 sièges lui ont possiblement échappé à cause de l'ingérence. Avec les informations que vous avez maintenant, et je comprends que ça continue à...
And hang on, we'll get back to the English again. Here we go.
Des changements dans les résultats des élections, ni dans aucun siège à travers le pays. I can understand where someone who lost an election is trying to look for reasons other than themselves why they might have lost an election. The reality is we put in place a panel formed by top independent public servants, a task force staffed by security officials throughout our intelligence and security services to ensure the integrity of the 2019-2021 elections. And the conclusion of all those mechanisms is unequivocally that the elections' integrity held, that not a single riding or the result of the overall election was impacted or changed because of foreign interference. That is something that Canadians can take comfort in and be confident that because of the mechanisms we put in place and all the studies and reports done after the fact, our elections integrity held in 2021 like it did in 2019, and we're going to continue to do everything necessary to make sure that all future elections in this country continue to be decided by Canadians and Canadians alone.
Thank you. Next question. Continuing with the theme, conservatives at the Foreign Interference Inquiry alleged...
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you speak closer into the mic, please?
Conservatives at the Foreign Interference Inquiry alleged that you got more briefings than their leader did about potential foreign interference during the election. They also say the government and security agencies did not take evidence they passed on seriously enough in the days after the vote. Why should Canadians trust that there wasn't a finger on the scale?
I think one of the unfortunate things is that this is something that should bring all parties together to work constructively, and unfortunately the Conservatives continue to try and play partisan games with the facts and the issues before us that are very, very seriously. We have independent panels that have put out clear reports on what happened and what didn't happen during those elections, which meaning the election integrity held, and we now have a commission of inquiry that is going through all the various facts. I'm going to trust the Commission to continue to do its work. I look forward to participating next week, and I look forward to the reports of the Commission that will both, I'm certain, reaffirm the integrity of those elections, but also make important recommendations so how we can move forward in a constantly evolving threat environment to keep our elections safe and our democratic institutions safe for the future.
Thank you. About today's event, Doug Ford and other premiers have rejected the conditions laid out.
Okay. So we'll hang in there for a little while. If you want to call and join the conversation, you can do that at 1-519-401-1373. That is, that should not cost you a penny if you call, certainly from within Canada. 519-401-1373. Let me cue this up, and this is the number to call again. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And we're back, and we have our first caller on the line. Who am I talking to tonight?
You're talking to Sharon from Manitoba.
Welcome back. How are you this evening?
I'm well, Rick. And yeah, I was, when you were asking me what seemed to leap out at me, and I think that's what it was. It was this, there's many things, but I was struck by possible, well, maybe not possible, definite foreign interference where the candidate was targeted, or maybe obviously more than one, by people not of this country, and that's not good.
Obviously, we're dealing with China here because there's direct evidence of that. And what do you make of the Prime Minister's reaction today, where he's basically saying, well, I'm ready to move on. Mr. O'Toole is just looking for someone else to blame other than himself for losing the election. How do you feel about Trudeau's response?
Mr. Trudeau, globalist. Mr. Trudeau representing everyone else but Canadians. This is what I think of right off the bat. And what strikes me about all of the different issues is it's just been really unfortunate, not just Canada, but I think worldwide, where there's been such a warfare turned up intentionally amongst race. And I think what struck me was recently I saw an interview by a gentleman who wrote a book in the States, and he was talking about class warfare versus race warfare, where it would be nice, I think even Trump has addressed this, where if everyone had the opportunity to, and you have too, Rick, if everyone had just the opportunity, if the economic climate was healthy, where we had a chance to rise above our class or financially do much better. If everyone had that chance to do financially much better, I think there'd be a lot less anger and conflict and just silliness going on. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. You give people a chance, and they'll seize the day. Of course they will.
Yeah. And what's amazing is and I'm sure I still think there's a lot of good people out there with common sense. I think we've kind of felt maybe over the years worn down because of the constant barrage of news about this particular group or that particular group. And but I think there are more people who don't think that way. But the media, what strikes me what's so amazing in 2024 is the power of media, and how important it is to to detach or just walk away, and how important it is to have a healthy balance each day and not get caught up in the political drama or the propaganda drama. Just a lot of information that is just, and I can't imagine among young people now how they can discern or just have a break from technology. And I guess I'm just overwhelmed with the how quickly this had changed over just a few years. How we have now found ourselves.
So I'm very interested in your view on that. Tell me how you see this information. Give me some examples, for instance, of information that you're seeing that you're questioning. What does it look like to you? What are you being fed that has you concerned?
Well, I think when, for example, some of your shows have pointed out, you don't believe everything you see. Take the time to question, or just even take the time to reflect on it. I think because of all the different podcasts now, independent from old media that's been around forever and a day. And I'm of that generation where I grew up with those 3 channels, and then to hear that to hear that about a new world order, to hear about a group of people that are intentionally trying to disrupt and destroy. Yeah. The majority of the people in this world for their own benefit is one thing that strikes me. And I think I'm just, sometimes when I watch the comments and I hear about Malta, and I hear about the Vatican, and I hear about how certain families have, this type of angle where everyone from, the judicial system to the police force to the Hollywood I think I've never really thought, you know what, Rick, I never really thought about these groups existing and or just the impact or the influence of what I really know now. And in some ways I wish I didn't know that some people were this rotten and psychopathic. So here, for example, hearing about Bill Gates, if this is true, buying up a lot of the soil or the farmland in the States. I don't know if that's real or not, but
I know he does own a lot of farmland for sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I know that he does own a lot of farmland. He definitely has purchased a lot.
I just think overall, I definitely see a difference in how relaxed or, nice and easy. Like sometimes I'll hear your show and you're talking about growing up as a kid in the 70s or, muscle cars and people just hanging out at the, what do you call those, where they had the video
arcades, yeah.
Yeah. And or for entertainment, the big thing was I think it was motocross, like dirt biking or go-karts, and it just seemed more laid back before. And maybe I must sound like an old fuddy-duddy, because I've heard generations before me say, it's not like the good old days. Well, I know there's pros and cons to each generation, but I think it's much more dark now. Much more lack of tradition or just lack of knowing. And I don't blame the younger people, the lack of knowing what's acceptable or what is right. It seems like for example, I just can't imagine young families now. That's who I feel for, is these young families with young children not getting the same opportunity that you and I have or had. And this is what kind of bothers me a little. It makes me sad. But then at the same time, I remember you were saying things can change. It will take a it will take time, a little bit more time, but things can turn around. We're not doomed. But sometimes I feel like we're doomed. But I know we're not doomed, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was at the passport office today. I had to leave town. That's why I was on the road. And so I was up really early this morning because they have huge lines, and I wanted to get back to be with you guys tonight. So I was up at like 4 a.m. and on the highway. And anyway, it was, I got there, huge, to get in line outside the building. It's in a shopping mall, the passport office. So before the mall even opens, it's still dark outside. I'm waiting outside with some other people, and I meet this guy. And he was born in the U.S., moved to Canada a few years ago. Very interesting fellow, but he's exactly of that mind. He's like, it's just, we just have to go through this cycle where we have a couple rounds of government, and we're in this round with Trudeau right now, which is like, it's really bad. But once we get through this, and then we get the next round, and we've got some examples to look at in this new political environment, then things will start to rebound. The pendulum will swing back. And he was giving some historical examples of it. And I think he's quite right. You know, give it time. The system will self-correct. Give it time. People will push for the right things. People blame everything on government, but it's also us, the people. We're to blame. And it's not saying that you're to blame, but a lot of people voted for Trudeau because they're all in on the woke politics. There are a lot of people who believe in that stuff, and it's getting us in a lot of trouble. But over time, the nuttiness of it all will flush itself out of the system, because after a while, you can only go around, denying reality for so long.
And I think the woke quote unquote woke people are starting to feel the pinch too, if they haven't already. They're feeling the rise in prices of everything too.
Yeah.
So the only thing, and you said something interesting, give it time. And sometimes I think, do we have time? Because and I don't mean to sound negative. I think I'm just pessimistic in the sense of, I really hope people who are creating all this death and war around the world really give their head a shake, but because there's a lot of good that this money could go towards their own citizenry in their own countries, whether it's Israel or Ukraine or where else is it going on? The Middle East is like a powder keg, I guess. It's more so, I think, more than I've ever seen. And it's these people who are really making it unsafe. And I do, Rick. I agree. I hope there is time for this to turn around before someone makes a really stupid decision. Because, I think that's where that's where I say a little more of a prayer every now and then, because this can get out of hand quickly, can it?
Yes, it sure can, and I think that we have to be careful to, question what the politicians who are in power are doing, of course, and hold them accountable in a peaceful and political way, and legal if it warrants it. But we also, I think, have to be careful about following false prophets, because the problem there is that you have people saying, look at Trudeau and Biden and these crazy progressives. They want to tear the whole system down. We have to stop them. And they hate Canada. But then when I listen to some of these false prophets who are complaining about these guys wanting to tear the country down, what's their solution? It's to tear the country down. They want to destroy it too. And it's because they have their own agenda. But they generally don't tell you what their plan is on the other side. I'm usually not hearing anything coming back, which is of real concern to me. And I think I know where it will go, and it ain't good. So we have to be very careful. I say, be careful to ask what they're doing. This phrase is, be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. The problem is people aren't asking for anything other than just fix it, but the fix is to destroy it. And so you have these people in power destroying things, and then you have other people saying, we can fix it, all we have to do is destroy it. But they don't tell you what you're going to get on the other side. I'm very leery of that, and I'm concerned about it. See a lot of it. So much so that somebody messaged me the other day, somebody, friend, been watching the show for quite a while, and this person said that they're so fed up with, the ineffective protests, with the government, that they don't even want to celebrate Canada Day anymore. And I messaged back and I said, you have to celebrate Canada, because these people all want to destroy Canada. This is exactly what they want. Trudeau, that he took our flag for a while. We had to fly it at half staff for months, because that's an assault on national pride. They're burning churches. They're destroying our institutions. They're tearing down our statues, destroying our history and the pride that we have in our country, a country that really has welcomed people from all over the world. And yet we're still being told that we're, not welcoming, and that we're a bunch of colonialist occupiers who are a bunch of racists. Well, sorry, but I say to heck with that. That's all you have to do to win, is celebrate Canada Day and wait, because the more you celebrate Canada Day, the more it'll drive Trudeau up the wall.
I agree. That's exactly. Yeah.
Now more than ever, what you have to say is, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country, because your country needs you more now than ever before. Embrace your country and truly work to save it, to get it back and make it better. I want to improve and fix the country. I don't want to destroy it.
And I hope more voices like yours, like what you just said, just now for a few minutes is perfect, because I want to hear more of that. I think a lot of us want to hear more positive. Well, it's not even positive, just more of a hopeful
patriotism.
Yeah, that's right, patriotism.
Yeah, and positive patriotism, not like ethno-Nazi national socialism patriotism. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, let's get those Canadian flags out. Let's celebrate Canada Day. Let's embrace our history, and let's have everybody, be proud of being Canadian. Like the hockey game where the kids from India, was it? Some months ago, they were singing it in their language. I don't remember it doesn't matter to me what language it is. You can sing it as long as you're singing the national anthem, you sing it in any language you want. But as long as you're singing the national anthem, you're on my side.
Yeah, and I think, I hope, and maybe it will, like you said, it takes time, but I hope between now and I hope that more and more voices like yours on a podcast. I hope, even in that, like I don't look at CBC or CTV or those, like, I think more independent, alternative sources of information. Look at it that way, because it seems like some of these independent platforms look for the scare or fear factor or gotcha factor. It's. And I think it's good for me just to be aware of those platforms. If I'm feeling like anxious and more anxious, I don't want to. I don't mind. It's not like I'm afraid to hear what's going on, and not in a good way. But and again, just focus on what's in front of me every day, and focus on. And for me, I think what I'm learning, what I gained from this conversation with you, is don't ever forget that I'm a proud Canadian, and what can I do to make it better.
And heck, man,
this the best mindset.
This stuff seems when I listen to people, even some online influencers, they make it sound so hopeless. My goodness, this carbon tax, It's like, oh my God, people are losing their minds. I know that's because it's a political campaign, and they're appealing to your fear, right?
Yeah.
Let's put it in perspective. What is it really? It's a budgetary item. You think we can't defeat that? It's 3 cents a liter at the pump right now, and it's going to get a whole lot worse between now and 2030, but we have time. Right now it's 3 cents. It's $1.62.9 here where I live. It's much more out in Vancouver, but that's all fixable. It's not like, oh, it's the end of the country. No, it's 3 cents a liter now, and we have time. It's a budget item. So get to the polls, change it.
It's fixable.
Yeah. It's pretty simple, really.
Yeah.
I can just a stroke of a pen and, change a couple of decimal points and get rid of the tax.
Yeah.
No need for despair. Just step up to the plate and vote and campaign and make people aware. And that's all you have to do. And celebrate Canada Day. Don't abandon it. That's what they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
All right. I
will.
really appreciate you calling in tonight.
Thanks, Rick. I enjoyed it. Have a nice evening.
You too. You take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Okay, folks, we still have a few minutes here. If somebody else wants to call, you can dial in at 519-401-1373. Going to run that little promo again, so you guys can call in. I'm going to take a little quick break here, and we'll come back after this. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
Feel the vibrations. Our quest continues. The truth is out there. We are Mavericks.
And one of my other favorite people out there, Chris, is on the line with us now. Hello, Chris. Welcome back.
Hi, Rick. How are you doing?
I'm just fine. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm going to tell everybody that I was the one that messaged you about Canada Day because I want to talk about that.
Sure.
So I'm not going to hide it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really down that day that I texted you about that.
Yeah.
There's just so... I think we get into a rut where we just get into so much negativity that, like the other caller said, that we just don't know what to believe anymore, what not to believe anymore. And it's just, I don't know, I just feel like no matter what we do, Trudeau always seems to be winning here. And it's heartbreaking to see what's happening to Canada. And you're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. If we don't celebrate, we're giving in to him. I totally agree with you. So I'm really glad that you messaged me back, and yeah, made me feel a lot better.
I'm glad.
You gave me that spirit back. Yeah, it's just so much, just like you said, so much going on. Like like that. Let's go back. So that ship that ran into that bridge and it collapsed, right?
Yep.
So the conspiracy theories going on about that is just incredible. I've tried to talk to people going, they lost power, they lost control. Well, no, as soon as you go on to that route, no, that's not the truth. They actually had flares on the bridge that blew up at the same time. I'm thinking, like, this is what I mean about how they absorb you into this negativity, right? And then you go, well, geez, you go back and you watch the video. Is it? Was it? Like, like, it's just that kind of stuff, right? Like, I mean, I do try to be positive every day.
Yep.
Not the weather's nicer now, the snow's, I can actually see my grass now, the birds and everything for that. So I do try to go out for walks every day. I do try to be positive. I got to see my grandsons over the weekend, which is always awesome. But it's just so hard to stay away from negative people because it seems like everybody seems so angry about something.
Yes.
And as soon as you go to try to talk, even just common sense, like just sit down and have a conversation, it goes the other way really fast.
Yep.
And it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. Like these protests, I mean, kudos to these guys protesting. I mean, they got to try something, I guess. I kind of didn't really think that all those police had to be there yesterday, but I mean, they got to stop them from being on the road. That was dangerous the day before.
Yeah, I mean, my view on that is the cops showed up because they had information that, there was a safety issue.
Yeah.
So they came and what did the cops do? They didn't really do anything to the protest. They just stood there, and it was like the message was pretty clear. You can't go on the highway. Don't play in traffic, children. It's not safe.
Because they would put pylons out for a bit and slow the traffic right down. And I mean, it was backed up for as far as you can see. And that's a main artery.
Yeah.
So that's coming from the mountains going east and it's going west. So you have trucks going by, you have people from BC. That's why they did it there. It's a main artery. But you can't have traffic backed up for kilometers and kilometers. So eventually the police actually did shut it down and diverted all the traffic in going through Cochrane.
Right. So, but that's the important point. They didn't shut the traffic down. They diverted the traffic around the protest the way they would if there was an accident there. That's what they did.
And I guess at that point they had to, because it was backed up for kilometers and kilometers, and you just can't. Every once in a while they'd pull the pylons back and open a couple of lanes, but still, that's a very, very busy stretch of highway. It's a very dangerous stretch of highway.
Yeah.
And it's not even a service road they're on. All it is it's kind of like you pull over as a rest stop kind of thing on each side of the highway. That's all it is. They're not really service roads. So just like pull-ins and you can have a little break or whatever. So that's where they're all camping and stuff.
Gotcha. Right.
Right. Well, I don't know how much longer they're going to be camping because they're supposed to be getting a really big, heavy snowstorm coming pretty quick here within the next 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I hope we don't get it at this end. But, yeah, so, no, like I said, I just, when I heard you talk about that with the other lady, I thought, well, I'm going to chime in. I agree with that other lady. I think she sounds like a really awesome lady. I feel her, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, she gets scared, and then you got to think positive, and you know what I'm saying? Like, for the children, you worry about the children, of course.
Yep.
But like you said, I think, like you said, the only way that he's going to leave office is either he steps down on his own, which I can't see that happening, or we have to wait it out and vote him out.
The worst case scenario is he stays there until October 2025.
Yeah, and that's very scary to think of how much damage can be done to the country between now and then.
Yeah.
And how many more bills. And that's another thing. How come, do you have any idea why they're not in the House? Like, I noticed they haven't been in speaking in the House for, last couple of weeks now or something. Is there a reason for that? Is it over now, or?
I'm not sure what the schedule is. I don't know. I'd have to check.
Yeah, I just find it strange that they're kind of traveling all over doing all this stuff. But one thing that a lot of people, I guess in Alberta, are a little bit upset. Daniel Smith did like a little interview. She was asked some questions yesterday about the protests and stuff. And I guess, you're not allowed to block highways and roads and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
That's a law out here, and I'm sure it's across Canada. So she said, I have nothing wrong with it, and I'm not going to enforce that. I hope they have common sense. But she called all the protesters left wings. And oh, are the people angry today? Yeah, so you can actually go back and listen to her interview from yesterday, and how the reporter asked that, and it's like, wow, like what a strange thing to say.
Not really. Nope, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, you know why? It's a populist movement. And within a populist movement, you get people from across the political spectrum. And when I listen to these guys talk,
that's true, yeah.
They see themselves as right-wing, and in many respects they are, I think certainly socially. But when it comes to fiscal policy, economics, they embrace socialism. Every step of the way. They all want their free stuff. I listen to them, and they complain and complain and complain a lot. Not all of them, but almost all of them. Complain about government. The government's this, the government's the problem with that. And then you know what their solution is? More government. I listened to them the other day complaining about healthcare, and you know what their solution is? More socialized healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more of it. You name it, they want more of it. Well, they complain about the government. I'm truly conservative. I'm not there at all. I don't want more socialism. I want less. I see socialism as the problem. I want less government, not no government. I'm not an anarchist. I want less government.
Well, yeah,
But not
a
these
friend
guys.
of mine made a good point. He said we should just have each province should have its own, like you're still a government across Canada, but each province has about 7 people that say would sit at a round table and correspond with another province that's got together, and everybody work things out instead of having all this in Ottawa. If every province could just all work together, but as you can see, the premiers are saying to end this carbon tax, and of course now Trudeau is pitting with them, and you know what I mean? Like they're not even getting along. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
the whole
yeah, I mean-
government is fighting.
Yeah.
Everybody's fighting with everybody.
What your friend doesn't understand, actually, and what most people don't, is that the provinces already are basically sort of equal partners to the federal government, but each level of government has its own areas of jurisdiction. So there are some things that are dealt with provincially and other things that are dealt with federally, some things that are joint. Energy is one of those areas that is sort of an area of joint jurisdiction. There are just certain aspects of energy and taxation of energy that the different levels of government have jurisdiction over. That's why you have provincial and federal taxes on energy, and there are provincial regulations on energy extraction and production, oil drilling, things like that. And then there are the federal layers to it as well, right? Healthcare is an area of provincial jurisdiction, but the federal government has sort of overarching jurisdiction as well, because they provide transfer payments through the federal health care acts. So but that's the thing. Trudeau has not been respectful of that peer relationship where it's equal, right? He sees the federal government as being dominant or superior to, and it's supposed to be a partnership.
Exactly. And then, like you said, then they all get pitting on one another, and nothing's getting solved, except for more and more people getting angrier and angrier. It's like I don't know. Like you did a report last week or something on, in a couple of years, the RCMP are saying about the unrest in Canada.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come sooner than that at the rate things are going.
It's possible, and that all hinges largely, I think, on the economy. If people, if the dollar collapses, and that's the real possibility, then things could get really hairy, because as soon as people get hungry, and they lose things, like they lose their savings, they maybe lose their homes, and you're plunged into a depression, then things can get very volatile very quickly.
Well, I hope we don't ever get to that point. I really don't.
Well,
I hate to see that.
When we talk about do we have enough time, that's the issue right there. It's we are so far in debt, and they are printing so much money to service that debt that it is a spiral downward and quickly. So they need to come up with a solution. Trudeau's not the guy to do it. If we stay with Biden and Trudeau, they'll try to socialize our way out of this and print their way out of it. That's just going to make things worse and worse. That will guarantee the collapse of the dollar. I've been listening to a number of economists on this, and I'm still of the mind. I'm firmly in the camp where we need productivity growth. We need to bring jobs back, get factories cranked up, start producing things, put people to work, grow the economy, and harness the power of artificial intelligence to increase efficiencies to unprecedented levels so that we are producing goods and services with such great efficiency that we just grow our way out of the inflation. You need the growth. You need more products and services on the market to provide supply of goods and services so that more supply means prices come down. That's the solution to the whole darn problem. And start to export again around the world. And that doesn't mean we have to go to war with China. They can be prosperous too. We just need to find our areas of expertise and specialty and focus on the things we do best and produce those goods and services. And hopefully those goods and services are not from, on the military side. There's been far too much of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid growing up in Toronto there, and there was all kinds of factories making stuff from those little red Solo cups to spoons. You know what I mean? The industry was fantastic. Everybody was working, and everything was almost Canada made. And I think we really need to get back to those days.
Yes.
We
I
really
agree.
do.
Yeah.
I think we depend too much on, stuff from overseas and all this kind of stuff. And most of it, I hate to say it, most of it is junk.
Yeah.
You can't, it breaks, you can't fix it.
That's very true. There's a lot of that stuff that is like throwaway, disposable consumer goods, even higher end items.
I won't keep you any longer, but there's one more thing I want to touch on. So you were saying that the carbon tax, so it went up about 3 cents on the liter. But out here, we also had another 5% put on top of that 23%, because Daniel Smith added that fuel tax back on to get it up to the 13% where it should be. So we got a kind of a double whammy out here. So ours jumped like almost 9 cents.
So what are you paying a liter now today out there?
Today it's 159.9, and it was 151.9 the other day before the carbon tax.
Yeah, 162.9 here.
Yeah. So
right now,
that's still gonna hurt people that got to travel, that got to use their vehicles for work. Is eventually truck drivers, and then it gets into the food chain, and then everything goes up again. And people on pensioners, people on disability, even people working, single moms, people working 2 or 3 jobs. I have a friend that has 3 jobs on the go.
Yeah.
And she's just making ends meet. So it is hurting us. I mean, every time they add on, I feel like we're being taxed to that. I really do. It's getting ridiculous. Prove to me that the carbon tax is actually doing something for their so-called climate change. Because I don't see that happening.
No, it does nothing. It's just inflationary, and then, it all gets, cycled through the system so that it really doesn't ultimately have any impact, because people need to buy the fuel one way or another.
Yeah.
In the end, what ends up happening is people demand higher wages. It just takes time for things to equalize again. And then that fuels more inflation and more and more and more. So you never really get ahead. The products and services are worth what they're worth. You can use taxes to curb consumption on some items, but on a staple product like fuel, it's a misguided economic policy because it destroys the economy. He'll end up collecting less in tax revenue overall because it will result in degrowth.
Right.
Yeah, because everything becomes more expensive. People will consume less. As they consume less, it sends market signals to the producers to produce less, and then you get less and less. That's what happens with energy. You want to stimulate the economy. You want to grow your way out of this. You want to get out of this problem. Make the energy cheap. And if you're not going to do it with gasoline, then you better come up with an alternative, and right quick too, because people need energy and they need it cheap. And we have lots of it. We should be using it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what I mean. Look at all the resources we have in Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just saying. But yeah, it is going to hurt a lot of people. There's just no doubt about it. People are going to struggle more and more. And like I said, prove to us. And they say you get more. He keeps saying you get more back. Well, you don't. Because if you think about it, all year long, you're using stove furnaces or electricity, all this stuff that you pay carbon tax. Every time you buy food, everything's included, right? Mm-hmm. So a single person maybe gets I don't even get $200 every 4 times a year. That's nothing compared to what I've paid all year. So he's lying when he says you get more back, because you don't.
That's right. You don't.
Do you think he's going to give you more back? Because if that's the case, why are you taking it?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, Rick, I just wanted to chime in tonight. I hadn't talked to you for a while. Well, I mean, on the phone.
Yeah. Are you going to celebrate Canada Day?
Oh yeah, I'll probably with my grandsons.
Awesome. That'll drive JT right around the bend.
Well, and we have in our town really the one time of the year is when they do the fireworks, and they're really spectacular here. So I'll be taking my grandsons to that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you convinced me after that. I got to thinking, well, yeah, you're right. But I was just didn't know what to think that day. I was just getting bombarded by so much negativity. It's sometimes it's just better to sit at home alone just to go out in the world. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right, Rick. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you, Chris. You have a great night too.
You too. Bye-bye.
And there you go. So I think Chris is going to celebrate Canada Day after all. And I am too. And I hope you do too. It's a ways off yet this year, but now we have lots of time to prepare. And if you like what we do here, you can support the channel by donating. Let me get the banner up here. MaverickDonations.com. I have so many of these things. MaverickDonations.com. You can support us there. You can also support us over at freedomreporters.com. And if you donate $30 or more, I can send you a t-shirt. If you donate $60 or more, I can send you a Maverick News embroidered shirt, just like this one here. These ones are really nice, actually. They're good. I like them. I can send you one of those, and I still have a few of these 1/64th scale Batmobiles. Oh, I've got these kind too. A few different types from all the different shows and movies. So you'll get one of these randomly packed if you order one of those $60. If you donate $60 or more, I'll send you the embroidered shirt and a 1/64th scale Batmobile. If you do it tonight. But tonight only, or as long as supplies last. Happy to do that. And thank you so much for the support that you guys have provided, because you're the only thing that keeps us going here. So, all that being said, I will be back tomorrow night. Should be here at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as I said, tomorrow night we might have that expert on Bitcoin on. So, hopefully we make that happen. I'm looking forward to that interview. And timely, because the price is through the roof. And we'll find out what might happen with Bitcoin pricing and the economy in general. What's the future of the economy look like? Maybe there's a solution there to the collapsing Canadian and US dollars in Bitcoin. We'll find out more with that special interview, that feature interview with our Bitcoin expert. And I don't want to tell you who it is until it actually happens, because I don't like making false or teasing promises that I can't keep, because you just never know what might happen. It's supposed to happen, though. Maybe tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back. Thank you, guys. A privilege to have you here. Catch you tomorrow night on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.